I messed that up.
Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better brace yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you from Freight Vana's office here this morning. As you can see, we are not in the studio, and this is the beauty about where we are. And these guys are downtown Phoenix, and Shannon graciously invited me to come in and check out HQ2. So Shannon, what is all of this stuff that you guys are going down here, man? What this is a brand new setup for you guys. Sickest views in Phoenix. All right. We walked around here earlier, panoramic mountain views essentially down here.
Yeah, we're just really blessed as a team, right? We talked about it. We started last year, and to think that we just moved in a month and a half ago into this place, it's really special for us, for the team. Just a totally different vibe for us being this high. I think most of us, I'll talk for myself, I've never worked in a building this high, right?
I've never been on the 15th floor of anything.
So when you get to the 15th floor and you're looking out, you're right. It's a little pinch me, a little surreal.
Yeah.
Really cool for our team. And then we've modified the building, as you saw, to really make kind of our floor for our teammates, right? To have those types of views. And so we've taken out offices and created more floor space and done some really cool stuff here to make it our own.
Dude, and this is the thing, you guys, like when Shannon, they just started this stuff a couple of years ago, and their last office they were in, they started in a cube suite. There was 2 fold-up tables. And for all of you who've been following my stuff for this kind of the same time frame, I mean, I started doing everything on my bedroom, you guys, like legitimately. And this is all a progression of all, it's like not everybody gets the endless flow of capital and everything else. Like this is all earned right here. So it's like when you guys, if you're ever in Phoenix and you guys can come and check this out, just know this is all earned and everything. And, before we jump into all of this fun stuff that we are going to do out here today, you guys, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Hit them up. Access to trailers, whether you're a broker, shipper, or carrier, like we all need them at some point. And right now, with what they got going on, the best part about it, you guys get paid to reposition all of this stuff. So with what they're working on, I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully this is going to work out. And again, we're gonna make this work. What they have moving is they have brand new dry vans available over in Paragould, Arkansas, as well as Glade Spring, Virginia, going over to Orting, Washington. And you get paid $15.50 to do this, you guys. This is on top of the freight that you can load out in the back of that trailer. And then they also have a reefer over in Clearfield, Utah, going to Henderson, Colorado. You get paid $700 to reposition that one. They have them down in West Palm Beach, Florida, going up to upstate New York. I can never pronounce this name. You get paid $1,500 to do that. And then they also have an intra-Canada move right now, Coteau du Lac, Quebec, going over to Calgary, Alberta, 1,000 Canadian. And the best part about this, you guys, as I said, you get paid to do this. And this is just a great tool for you to utilize to help offset some of the rising fuel costs and everything else that's out there. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My man Xavier Campos, he's already in the audience out there. And we got to give some shout out to some friends as well. We got Brian Hagan. Good morning, sir. Stace, good morning. Let's fucking go. Happy Friday to you. Connor Foster, Freighted Up Friday, baby. Let's go. Otto, good Freaky Freight Friday. Here we go. You threw me off there. I love it. Good morning, Glenn. Good to see you out here, my man. Dan Penrod, HQ2. Dan Penrod's a good dude. Man, I like him a lot. Joe D'Angelo, what's up? He's from the Roots out in Kansas. Bob Hazrati, good morning. Sonny Sharma, good fucking morning. To see you. Good to see you out here. And Julia, she's got a long one. Got some exciting news. Would love to share it. Julia, announce it out there. Let me see here. LinkedIn user PP required with that crew. Brad Reinhardt, happy Friday, my man. Dude, so here we are. We're not going to break down any articles today, you guys. We're going to provide actual real life market conditions, peak season predictions, and most importantly, how you're going to navigate through this, because, normally we break down headlines on the show. And, frankly, this is why I like talking to other people, because everybody's got a perspective on how to handle this stuff. So like from what you guys are seeing out there, and obviously you guys rolled out, how many dry vans are you guys have in your fleet?
In a couple weeks, months, we'll have over 500 running operational nationwide.
So how are you taking this, right now? Because again, it's like in brokerage, obviously everybody's got tech, everybody's got this and that and everything else, but like the fundamentals to me of this industry are never going to change. So how are you applying that old school ground and pound kind of mentality with the new age of, Freight Bond X and everything that you guys are doing? Because you guys are like attacking this stuff, man.
Yeah, I think our platform is built on obviously what Don and the team have built is highly based on some quality technology. We've got some really interesting technology in the trailers that help us bring it to bear. So it's not quite the old school, right? It's kind of that blend of old school and new school, but undoubtedly you add that technology plus our growth trajectory, and then just the way we approach the market and our shippers and our customers and even our carrier partners right now. Right, carrier partners need folks that have opportunities, need folks that have consistent freight in the market, and so our model is really, as you know, predicated on committed business, consistent business, and treating those parties fairly. And so we've had a lot of carriers reach out, and we're helping them build their networks, and we're finding shippers that are obviously interested in the trailers and building that.
Sure.
And so the connection that we're building, Chris, has been awesome. So we're still aggressively trying to introduce ourselves to shippers and carriers, but right now it's exciting as we continue to scale.
So from a freight volume perspective, because, like for me, obviously I pay attention to a lot of data out there, Shannon, and you see mixed reports. You see one side is saying one thing, another side is saying another. I've always been of the mindset, like, our customers don't care. They need us to still show up no matter what information's out there. But the number that I pay attention to a lot is the overall freight volume. And that is still high. Mm-hmm. That is still moving. There's still freight moving. Yes, spot market is what it is, but you've been in this industry 14, 15 years. I mean, I've seen this cyclical
You've given me a few more than I deserve.
Okay.
This is year 11.
This is year 11, but close enough.
I mean, a trust and transparency.
Exactly. But I think for me personally, though, we're back to how a normal freight market operates. The days of name your price, you get the load tendered, and then subpar service, and they don't get rid of you because they need you to hopefully come through with them at some point. Those days are done. And I want people to understand that how you're going to have to operate right now is going to be back to how it has always been when it comes to drive-in and refrigerated markets. Volume. You are going to make your money in volume. You're not going to have those. You will have those one-hit wonders where you're just going to pull off a miracle and make a decent margin. But for the most part, man, it's going to be back into that 10 to 12% range for brokers if you're going to survive, because the people who I know are the real players in the industry, this is when they're coming out, because they know when it shifts into a broker's market, when the spot market starts to soften and everything else, all of a sudden, I see the postings all the time out there on social media. The drivers are posting the $1 a mile rates that brokers are posting. You're setting yourself up for failure. All right. I've said this numerous times. You're setting yourself up for failure. You need to play the long game in this. And like, in my opinion, this is where, as a broker, I will lower my rate to my shipper, but I will raise my rate to my carrier. I will keep my carrier paid, because I know that at the end of the day, the most important component to all of this is a truck showing up. And if they don't get paid, we don't have a product. And that's how we're going to solidify ourselves in this market to navigate through this market. And then when the market flips back, your competition is seemingly not there anymore. And then that's where you're going to make your money in volume.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, right, for people that run brokerages or even people, new entrants into the space, right? The space has gotten so much popularity because everybody's talking supply chain. So everybody's hiring these new folks.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of the folks, if you think about recency bias, they don't even understand what the market is.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the first things we do, Chris, and I think to, educate the people in the industry is like, hey, here's what the life cycle looks like. There's many companies that put that out since like 2008. Like this is another part of the cycle. But for a lot of folks, you got to realize that are sitting in these seats doing the job, booking freight. They only know one thing, especially if they have less than 2-3 years tenure.
Yeah.
All they know is the peak market.
Yes.
All they know is the rising tide market. All they know how to interact with both carriers and shippers is in that market. And I think the best thing folks can do, a lot of people that follow, including what we focus on, is like, hey, to your point, what does it look like in this market? What's the balance market look like? That education, getting your folks ahead, because they don't know how to navigate it.
Yeah.
They don't have any experience in it.
No, that's exactly it. And it's like, and a lot of the stuff I see out there right now is, it's like, how do I find shippers? I'm going to be honest. If you're in that position right now where it's like, you've been able to identify business, and now, because again, it's like, I feel like these last, like you're talking about that peak, you could call anybody and get set up with anybody because they just needed trucks. Like there was that much scarcity that was out there in the market where they were setting up people for the sake of setting them up.
Right.
And I think what we're finding right now is I see this a lot. How do I find shippers? For me, most importantly, if you guys are going to be attacking peak season right this, again, regardless of the freight market, I'm all about strategy. I'm all about a hyper-focused niche, and I'm all about building out from there. I don't believe in casting a wide net. It's the same thing like with what I'm doing in my company right now. Like I train sales and operations for freight brokers and trucking companies. Like I'm not a sales trainer for fucking finance or realtors or anything else. I'm hyper-focused because there's a power inside of that niche. And it's like, if you're out there building up your book of business right now, you guys focus on one freight type and focus on one region. Like, I think that's going to be the most effective strategy for you moving forward. I mean, what would your piece of advice be? Again, you've built a company, you're building your company, you've been in the industry. For anybody out there who's like attacking this peak season in a normal freight market, what would you suggest for them?
Yeah, I definitely think about building for the long. Like, are you thinking quarters in advance, or are you thinking months? And right, some people, especially depending on where you're at, like maybe survival mode looks like a couple month plan. But I think what hopefully this market does, and the advice I'd give both carriers, like that's the other piece of the carriers, right? I'll be honest, like we talk about the brokers, but it's also a carrier strategy.
Absolutely.
Because in that peak market, I work with a lot of carriers now, and honestly, what are they saying? Oh, I was doing 70% spot, 80% spot, because that's where the money was, right? And so then you watch the tide kind of pull out on the market. And I think to your original point, there's just as much volume, but clearly the price has changed. And so now you've got these carriers that haven't developed the relationships. They don't have the committed business. And that's where someone like us that's positioned on that committed business front is really able to help. Now, if you're spot and you're always going to chase spot, and I think this just goes to diversity, making sure you've got good plans. If you're only planning to be successful in the high water mark, that's when you're going to struggle as either a carrier or a broker. And so you really need to do some kind of self-evaluation and make sure you built the business to be able to be successful in all three markets, right? A kind of balanced market, a high tide market, and a low tide market. And I think the problem is people have short memories, right?
Very
and
much.
They build and run towards things that are really exciting and shiny. And then unfortunately, or fortunately, this is the market that kind of resets it all and makes people reevaluate what they need to do in order to survive. And I think that's business. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it chaotic. And that's why guys like you and me, we love it.
Dude, I love the chaos. I'm going to be honest with you. It's why I can't get out of this industry under any circumstances. And, a guy, I've drawn a blank on his name. He's with 5C Logistics. He was talking about, he was bringing up some very valid points about how brokers don't know what it costs to run a truck. And I'm like, I've always been of the mindset, like, well, it's not my job. It's not my job. And then over the last I'd say the last year, I've been really thinking like, wait a second, I should know. I should have, there should be a collective understanding about what it costs to run a truck, because I feel like that's going to help us price better, most importantly, but it's also going to be able to help us identify our carrier partners and what we can do to keep them running. Because, again, like I understand everybody's got to make money. You understand everybody's got to make money, but like there can't be, I think like right now is a pivotal moment in the industry where we can actually break the historical cycles of the broker versus carrier mentality that's been out there. We could actually sit down and have a collective understanding of, hey, it might be this truck might be running at $1.80 a mile break even. This truck might need $2.24 depending on their financing and everything else. But I think like a general range and a general understanding of what it is, so you can go out there and accurately price that stuff. Because the overwhelming majority of shippers out there, at least in my experience, they're not looking to tank the market under any circumstances at all. What they're looking for is consistency. Like that's it. And I've worked with customers who have massive RFPs. I've also worked with ones that have 5 full truckloads in a month, and they all wanted the exact same thing at the end of the day.
The problem is, though, if you think about it for their world, right, go to a shipper's view, they've had nothing but a lack of consistency from a lot of their partners in the last couple of years. And so now is their time to kind of get a chance to reset, because you got to realize they blew their budgets out, and then we had COVID, then the budgets got blown out, then the market ran away, then the spot market ran away. So these folks have been, quote unquote, losing to their budgets for years, right? Because kind of people kind of continue to tick that market up and maybe ask for more money than was needed, right? And this is where, right, it works against you and with you. And I think what we're seeing for our partners, both carriers and shippers, is like treating people fairly along the way is what pays dividends today, right? So we might not have made as much money as we could have when the high water mark was there. And that was a strategic decision and a personal decision in the way we show up. But then you get to this market, and now you have those shippers and those same carriers that are willing to stick with you because you didn't take advantage of them
Yes.
when the opportunity was there to do so. And I think that is what creates the trust and transparency. That's what we're building our business on. And that should give us advantages outside market cycles. But if we're being honest, a lot of brokerage places and even some carriers act very opportunistically. And
Yes.
so that is a decision. But then with every decision, right, just like in life and friendships, all those relationships,
Yeah.
there is a counter reaction to that, and you've got to be willing to kind of take and reap what you sow.
Dude, absolutely. And because the thing is like I want people to understand, like, aren't you sick of resetting every 6-8 months your carrier base, your customer base, and everything else? Like, at what point have you had enough? Like, at what point are you like, all right, I'm done with the bullshit. I just want to operate in a manner that I have customers that are going to give me consistent business, and not give me help me earn consistent business. And then with carriers, like resetting your carrier market, like at the end of the day, you guys, we're not reinventing the wheel with all of this stuff. And that's what I want people to realize is it's like when you can identify those carrier partners who legitimately are doing everything that we ask of them, because that's one thing as brokers that we always do is we're like, oh, we need transparency. We need this. Well, why do you shuffle through carriers when you find them that actually do that to make an extra $100 on the spot market? Like, I want to challenge every broker out there. If you've had a carrier who has done and exceeded all of your expectations over the last year or 18 months, now that the market shifted, why have you stopped calling them for freight? Why have you adjusted their rate and came to them and be like, well, I can book it for $3,000 now. I don't want to pay you $3,500 anymore.
I think the answer is easy. People are short-sighted
Yeah.
in general. And honestly, if you put shiny things, a la lots of money in front of people and ask them to make the right decision versus the short-term decision, I think what we've all learned, probably especially as you get older in your life, is that people are going to make those short-sighted decisions for that short-term gain and kind of forget about that long-term strategy. And I think it's leaders, it's business units setting that cultural tone for their organization. Yeah. Because I think you'd see a lot of like marketing departments and be like, oh no, we want to be this, we want to be that. But as soon as their business starts interacting with the market, it acts much differently than one would say that they interact. Yeah. Right. And so there's this break, right? There's this confliction, which you and I talk about a lot in business models, that I want one thing, if I incentivize another, well, then you're always going to have a rub that doesn't really land where you say you want to be.
No, I'm right there with you, man. And I think, like, again, it's always easier said than done. Like, I get it. I've been in that position numerous times. And, I use myself as a lot of examples here, you guys, about what I used to do, why I would not do that anymore, why I don't advocate for those shady practices anymore, because it costs me so much more business in the long run to do this. And I know a lot of these things sound like perfect world scenarios. I'm not going to ever sit up here and say that this is going to be easy. It's not easy, but it takes a committed and coordinated effort to really apply this information and really utilize it through this next market shift. Because what you'll find is when it ticks back, all of a sudden you have all the capacity in the world. When it's a tight market, when it's a driver's market and you can't find trucks and everything else, it's because you didn't invest when it was a broker's market, or however you want to spin it. That's why you need to identify and create your own freight market, because right now is when you should be investing in your capacity. Knowing how much you might have got your teeth kicked in as a broker, or, well, if you haven't made money as a broker these last 2 years,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, this industry might not be for you. But I think that if you're in that position now and knowing that how tough it was to cover trucks, and now you've got a carrier base that you've worked with and you've identified, why have you lost sight of that? And why are you willing to risk that for when the market ticks back up? Because you're going to be sitting there left with nothing. You're going to have zero capacity at all. You're going to have no opportunities to grow with your customers, because usually at that time, that's when your customers are coming to you saying, hey, you've been doing great for the last 12 months. I want to award you more business. Now you're just going to roll out there and try and find all new trucks all over again. Yeah. And it's like you're working against yourself.
Working against yourself. That's that confliction we talked about. And honestly, like the way that it pans out, like there's the great part about this business, because it's such a competitive market and because it does have so many transactions, you get to see that litmus test and result. I'll give you a perfect example. Peak season's coming.
Yes.
Okay. Well, when peak season comes, if over even the last 2-3 months, you've been that broker that's right, taking advantage of carriers, to your point, undercutting them. Oh, sorry, we lost that load, but really that load picked up. You just found the cheaper truck.
Correct.
If you've done that, Well, what you should expect when you get to peak season is that none of those folks are going to be loyal to you. Meaning
Correct.
you're going to then have the load. You're going to get some peak support. I do believe that the peak market will still be there. I do believe that there will still be a surge. It won't look like prior years. But what we also see is that all those carriers you were disloyal to, they're gonna also treat you the same way. So when they get the 30 cents more a mile, $300, $400, $500 for their truck, they're gonna have that same excuse on the backside, right? They're gonna have the turbo, the flat tire. Johnny was sick, he's not coming in. He was gonna do your load. Like, you're gonna get a lot of that because that's what you built in that relationship over the last 2 months. And so what's cool about this industry is, and I think for your followers and the people that run this business, like there's always an ability to change that narrative.
Yes.
But what you get is what you honestly earned. And that's what, including like the good things that you can earn through
absolutely.
hard work. So I think that'll be a trying time. We get to peak season. It'll be interesting what carriers and drivers and owner ops stick with those brokers that have been kind of beating them up for a couple months.
That's the thing is it's such an investment in the future. And that's like this, for as cyclical as this industry is, and that's what you'll hear all the time. Oh, it's cyclical. It's cyclical. It's cyclical. There is cyclicality of it all, but it doesn't have to be as harsh as you think, and there's so many people who are like, I always think of, like, you've seen the movie 50 First Dates?
Yeah.
10 Second Tom, like that guy in there. Like, to me, that's what it is for a lot of people, where it's like, oh, fuck it, forget it. We're going to reset. We're going to make all of our money now. And it's just not the case. Like, I just want people to actually apply what we're talking about right here, Shannon, because I think if you did what we talk about, and if you follow my content, listen, I'm not the end all be all. I'm not saying I have to be right. If you apply what I'm saying and you do it for 6 months, I guarantee you'll see a difference in your book of business. Yeah. I guarantee you will make more money.
We're already seeing it here, right? We have really good conversations with our shippers. We've worked with them through the changing market times. We're excited about helping them through peak season. And then, hey, let's not get too short-sighted, right? Because right behind peak season is the worst season for trucking and logistics, which is the first quarter. And so, like, if you're just planning for peak season, you've already lost, because there's this thing we call the back half of December, which is not that great.
Yeah, at all.
Also has a holiday that a lot of people celebrate.
Yeah.
And then you go into January, February, and March, which is just historically terrible for trucking logistics. So in a bad market, in a bad quarter, that's when your partnerships are going to really help you. And so we've been lucky to really focus on building those since our inception. But I think a lot of people need to do an assessment of how they build those relationships and what they're going to do to get through times like that. Because the first quarter, you think now is tough. Wait till the first quarter.
Dude, that's exactly it. And, as LinkedIn user, goddamn security settings, either this is Kyle Lintner, Todd Waldron, or Matt Fink. There are shippers, carriers, and brokers who are true professionals and navigates the ebbs and the flows. It just doesn't draw any clickbait attention. It's tough. There are shady players, but there are also a bunch of good ones, and it's your job to go out and find each side of the equation. That's very true. Again, it's like I could easily probably 100x my engagement, Shannon, if I only talked about the shitty side of my job for the last 10 years that I've been in the industry. Yeah. But who does that benefit? That benefits me. And I'm not concerned about that. My honest to God approach is I got to improve this industry. Like my dad was an owner op. He was a trucker through and through, man. And to me, it was, legitimately to the day he died, man, it was nobody gives a fuck about truck drivers, and it's like, I'm like, as soon as he passed away, that's when it clicked in my head. Like, really, I'm like, all right, I'm going to be it. I'm going to be the one who fucking makes these changes that are out there. It's not easy, but it's like, I don't need to sit here and talk about the shitty side of this industry. We could sit here and talk about the shitty side of life all the time. Where would it get us? Fucking the exact same spot in 5 years with zero improvement. Right. And, and that's the thing is it's like, we can legitimately, to your point of what you just said, you can be the change. Like, just because you operated that way yesterday doesn't mean you have to do that way today. You can legitimately say, fuck it. Today is the 23rd of September. I'm going to be different today. Yeah. And you can fucking do that.
I mean, that's what essentially John and I and this team did.
Yeah.
Going back 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? We said, hey, we want to make this change. It's virtually impossible to do here. We wanted some personal things, right?
Yeah.
Challenge involved. And we hung a banner and our whole mission of right trust, transparency, and technology. Like, we're like, this is what our guiding force is, and we're going to live by it, right? And hey, probably cost us business, probably cost us money, probably cost us some profit along the way, short term. But I think, from our customer book, our carriers that are working with us, I think we see what that vision is. And you got a lot of people that are on your thread saying, hey, partnerships will always last. And we want to be on that side of the way of it. Like, hey, we're about partnerships and trust and transparency. And we're not willing to sacrifice that in the short term for an extra dollar.
Yeah.
For the long term. So.
No, dude, that's exactly it. Graham Gonzalez, what's up, bro? Good to see you in the comments today. Poor partners, vendors will end up being drained. Sorry, it was me. You should say sorry, Matt Fink. I'm just kidding, bro. Laura, I appreciate that. Thank you. Abby, preach. That's right. No, I mean, I agree. We have to keep calling out the bad actors in this situation. You know, Kyle Lintner did just post something up there the other day about that, and it has to be done. But it's also one of those things that people need to understand that you can change. Like, you're not defined. Like, I think we could all look back at our life, Shannon, and be like, yeah, probably shouldn't have done that. You know, we all have those moments, but you can legitimately change and be the one, you know, at the end of the day. Just because your organization operates in a certain way, that's not the industry as a whole. And that's the thing, is it's like there are so many hardworking men and women in this industry that just instantly get fucking lumped in because of a couple of bad actors. You know, you can set yourself apart so easy. Like, and I think that's what people don't understand, is it's really not that hard to separate yourself out there in this industry at all. It just takes you holding yourself accountable. All right. Holding yourself accountable every single day. And you will literally build a book of business and a following of carriers and customers like that you could never fucking imagine. It just takes a lot of hard work.
The biggest and smallest folks that build businesses forget like the core principle too. At the end of the day, you're a service provider.
Yes.
You're an execution provider, right? And so we get lost in the margins, we get lost in spot, we get lost in that. But what we forget is the entire reason we actually get paid is to coordinate and execute.
Yes.
And communicate effectively and honestly. And so, like, I see so many companies that get lost in all the other stuff, and then it's like you're missing your core fundamental reason for being, which is to, right, as a 3PL, like, if it was easy, right, the shippers would all be doing it themselves. They wanted the liability, they wanted the payments. Like, so there is a fundamental value you're creating, but at the end of the day, you're there to execute, you're there to communicate, create solutions, and honestly, do what you say.
Yes.
Do what you say you're going to do. And there's so many companies that can't even, like, can't even like, hey, can you do what you say you're going to do? Well, no. Did you do what your salesperson said you can do? Well, no. It's like, well, then you're already lost because you haven't even lived up to the thing that you said you were supposed to.
Correct.
So,
dude, and yeah, Matt Fink brings up a good point. And Shannon, I would say this applies to Freight Vana right here, is what Becky Hammond said the other day after they won the WNBA finals, because she was passed up for head coaching jobs and everything else. She's like, I just do me. Yeah. And I would say that is like almost I want to see that as a core value up here, because it's true, man. And Shannon and I talk about this a lot, you know, because when you're starting businesses and everything else, you can be intoxicated by, oh, this company raised fucking this amount of money and that. And you're almost like, what about us? You know? And it's like, at the end of the day, to that point, just do you. Like, fuck everybody else. No disrespect, but fuck everyone else. I'm worried about me and what I got to do. You have to have tunnel vision in this shit, because as you guys can see out there right now, revenue doesn't equal profitability. All right. Hard pill to swallow. Revenue does not mean profit. And valuation doesn't
definitely does not.
Yeah. Dude, and that's exactly it. And it's like, and frankly, if another company did raise a bunch of money, congratulations to them. That's not your journey. That's not your path. Do you. And all of that shit that you want to happen will fucking arise.
Yeah, I think you said it right. And I think the other funny narrative there is, like, as you're raising money, right? Everybody, what I always love is during the raise happens, and no one ever highlights how much of their company they just sold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And under what premise, right?
Yes.
Like, you could raise any amount of money, right? And essentially not even have a company anymore too, behind the scenes, but no one really ever comments like, oh, I just had to sell 60% of my company for this raise. Like, oh, well, that's not now so sexy, but just giving me the dollar figure was, right? And I think to your point, you just have to do you, because you're chasing a narrative that doesn't even have all the information, because if people put all the information out there transparently, it wouldn't be as exciting as you think it is.
Well, and that's exactly it. That's a good point, is it's like putting that full transparency out there. Like, companies don't just give you $100 million with nothing in return. And for like, oh, we just want 2%. No, motherfucker, they're taking 30% of your company, you know, and stuff like that. And again, there is the other side of it. And I'm not saying that if you're taking capital on and strategic investment, that's a bad thing. It's just not always what the eye likes to perceive when you see out there, like, company did this and that and everything else. And it's like, congratulations to them. That's their journey. That's not my journey. I'm all about doing it. And, you know, because to me personally, Shannon, that, like, the best part about all of this shit is the uncertainty of doing and growing a business. Like I interviewed a guy for my podcast last night. It'll be coming out. He says the best part about entrepreneurship is I'm unemployed every morning when I wake up. He says that's how I attack it, is I am unemployed every morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost like if you're building a book of business as well, that's how your mentality has to be, is I got nothing. Yesterday doesn't fucking matter. And that's the whole point of what he's saying there. He's like, yesterday doesn't mean shit. I gotta perform today.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to come from.
And I think the why too, right? And I think for us, and you mentioned valuations, not key and critical for where we're at, nor do I want to be at. But you've got dozens, and you're here in the office.
Yeah.
You see the army of folks that here believing
man.
in a brand, and right. I think that's what people ask me all the time. What keeps me motivated is it's all those folks, right,
dude?
And not only those folks, like we do something internal, right? It's not just them; it's their loved ones, it's their significant others, it's their kids, and so. I like the unemployed aspect of it. I also like waking up thinking, hey, I've got families out there depending on our success. And hey, if I'm having a bad day, that's fine. I have a bad day. But better believe I'm getting out of bed and going hard at it, because I got 80 families out there, 80 plus families out there and growing, that are expecting on me/us as a team to deliver. And that keeps me motivated. And it's also just a different model than some people deploy, right? Hey, if it's a bad market, we'll let go of people, right? You're seeing a ton of companies.
Tons.
And they have to, right? Fundamentally, they have to slash it, but that's because they took a different ride and now they've got to reset. Like, I want to build something a little more stable state that grows and scales, but like for our people, gives them the confidence that this is a career, not just a job for the time being, because we're making good money in some certain type of market, right?
No, definitely, man. And that's a good spot to kind of wrap it all up. Again, we like to keep these live shows 30 minutes, come in, drop some bangers, and let you guys get out there on this amazing Freight Friday and cover a bunch of freight. Obviously, we're at Freight Vana's brand new headquarters here, downtown Phoenix. How does anybody find out more about you guys, or how do they reach out to you, Shannon?
Yeah, I mean, our email, our website's the best, freightvana.io. Email hello@freightvana.io. We get those every day. So if you're a carrier, a shipper, or just someone in the industry wants to reach out, I'm more than happy to hear from you. hello@freightvana.io.
Perfect. I love it, man. And that's it for today, you guys. All I can ask is always, if you saw value in what we said today, share the show, because that's how this is going to grow and continue to grow and to continue to change the trajectory of this industry through each and every one of you. I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll be talking